Raiders Unleashed on the screen. Hit that subscribe. It's the RaidersRebel in the building. Silver and black, 2026. Yeah. Welcome to the desert. You know what time it is. Raiders Unleashed on the screen. Hit that subscribe. It's the RaidersRebel in the building. Silver and black, 2026. Let's go!
Left the bay for the lights, now we lighting up the strip. A legion in the desert, yeah, we built a mothership. No more dirt on the diamond, no more Coliseum rain. Just a blacked out dome where we deal out the pain. We're the villains of the league, always been the outcast. Built on Al Davis' ghost and we're built to outlast. The torch is still burning, it's a lifestyle, a creed. In the city of sin, we're the only ones you need. Silver and black is back, check the throne. The Raiders got a new home in the dome. The nation is rising, we're coming for everyone. Forget the other 31, we're the only ones. Yeah, we're unleashed, rebel with the vision, Raider nation worldwide. Making that precision, one mission, one pride. Until the game is won, fuck the other 31, we're second to none. Check the box office, yeah, the leadership is changing. Tom Brady in the office, things are rearranging. The GOAT is a minority owner, that's a fact. Bringing that winning DNA, no turning back. From the field to the booth, now he's part of the shield. Watching from the suite while we're dominant on the field. The rebels on the mic, Raiders Unleashed on the tube. Giving you the raw truth, we don't move like a rube. I'm a rebel with a cause, and the cause is the win. Blacking out the sun, let the nightmare begin. Chiefs, boats, and the ponies, they can all catch a fade. They're just stepping stones for the history we made. From the pirate on the helmet to the patch on the eye. We're the heartbeat of Vegas under that desert sky. Turn the volume up high, let the channel go live. In the Raider Nation, only the strongest survive. Silver and black is back, check the throne. The Raiders got a new home in the dome. The nation is rising, we're coming for everyone. Forget the other 31, we're the only ones. Yeah, we're unleashed, rebel with the vision, Raider nation worldwide. Making that precision, one mission, one pride. Until the game is won, fuck the other 31, we're second to none. You hear the RAIDERS chant. They thought we'd go soft in the desert, they can't. We brought the autumn wind to the 702. The rebel and unleashed, coming straight for you. Raiders Unleashed, you know where to find us. RaidersRebel, keeping it 100. Vegas is ours, the dome is ours. The shield is forever. Sound of a sword clashing, fade to silence.
Yo, what's good, everybody? It is free agency frenzy time. Legal tampering is coming up here in a little bit. Free agency starts on Wednesday. The Raiders have a whole lot of money to spend, and it's burning a hole in some people's pockets in the Raider Nation. I don't know, if it's burning a hole so much in the pockets of the guys upstairs holding all the money. But we got to spend some money, right? We just got rid of the best player we've had in this franchise in a long, long time. Peace out, Maxx Crosby. But now, no more talk, no more drama, no more rap videos, no more no more hip-hop, no more, this and that in the news. It is time to figure out who is going to be on this team, who is not going to be on this team. 23 free agents. None of them have been re-signed yet. There are talks that Eric Stokes could be re-signed. Shout out to everybody in the building. I have some people that, that I want to bring up, some names that I think could help the Raiders since we are now in a 3-4 defense. Base defense, right? We're not just going to be constantly in a 3-4. Probably be a lot more zone than maybe the same amount of zone as we've seen last year. You never know. So, again, we're going to break down some free agents. There's a whole bunch of names out there. Everybody wants Tyler Linderbaum. That's why I believe the Raiders are not going to be in the hunt. I've been maybe the only one saying this. I just don't feel like that's a guy that they're going to go after. I don't see them competing with anybody or, trying to get into a bidding war against any of these teams. And I just don't see the Ravens getting rid of him. I've said this since day one. you need to protect your quarterback. You have a 2-time MVP quarterback in Lamar Jackson. I don't see them getting rid of Linderbaum unless they have to, right? Now, they didn't franchise tag him. They could have did that. He's one of the best centers in the league, if not, at least top 5, if not the best. Some think he's the best. So I just don't see him go anywhere. You don't lose guys like that on your offensive line. And on the other hand, you got to look at the Chargers. They went out and got Mekhi Becton. They thought he was going to be the end all be all to the offensive line. Having Joe Alt coming in, had a pretty solid offensive line over there with the Chargers. They pay him this crazy, ridiculous amount of money. What was it? Upwards of $20 million because he was on a Super Bowl team with 3 Pro Bowl offensive linemen. And, the Chargers swung for the fences. Well, he was released this year or a couple days ago. So, just because somebody's balling in one system with the guys around him doesn't mean they're always going to come to another team and be that guy. We've seen it with plenty of players. Just mentioned one. So I'm just not in on swinging for the fences. Yes, I know you need an offensive lineman. Yes, you need a center, a smart center that can call out defenses, that can do his job, that can control the A gap. But there's guys out there, right? There's guys out there. We have some in the building that a lot of people want to see at center and JPJ. There's a couple guys out there in this draft coming up. So I'm really curious to see which way the Raiders decide to go, right? Do they go swing for the fences on the offensive line? Now, if you follow this channel, thank you. I appreciate you for following this channel. And you're probably getting sick of me hearing it. Probably sick of hearing it and me saying it. But if you don't follow this channel, well, I'm going to tell you, I don't believe this offensive line is that far off. It was bad last year. It was bad, but it was coming together the year before with the coach in Antonio Pierce that had never coached before in the NFL. They went through 2 different offensive lines. When the second group came in, they started to get things rolling, and then it got broken up with Pete Carroll the following year. So I believe there's pieces off on this offensive line. I think there's guys that have developed, over the last couple of years. DJ Glaze is one of them. I know he had a rough year compared to his rookie year. Is this system going to be a better fit for him, right? Is outside zone going to be, better for him? He's not going to be left on an island, right? Hopefully so much. Is he the guy at right guard? Do they go get somebody else? Do they bring in somebody in free agency? Do we bring in somebody in the draft? These are all things we are going to see, but we're going to break down some names. Most of them, probably a lot of people aren't really talking about, right? These are guys, since we do have 23 free agents on this team, that's a lot, right? It's a lot of guys you got to replace. So you got to get them somewhere. And not everybody that we're going to bring in, like everybody thinks, is going to be a day one starter. Some of these guys are going to be, role players, third down players, run stoppers, guys to plug up the middle and, eat up the A gap, take on double teams so we can let our, one of our 4 linebackers, our edge guys, get to the quarterback and pin his ears back and go, right? So not all these guys are going to be day one starters, and not all these guys are going to be $20 million men, right? We have a lot of money, yes, but with 23 free agents, you have to spend wisely. And with the Raiders not bringing back any of these guys yet so far, it starts to at least make me question how many of these guys are they really going to bring back? Or do we really have to go get, 20 new guys to bring into this on this squad? That's a lot. That's a lot of overturn. The Raiders had 26 free agents last year. They lost a lot of those guys. Some of the guys they brought back, didn't really produce like we were expecting them to. So again, shout out to everybody in the building, man. I don't know where my glasses went. Oh, over here. Sweet. So yeah, let's just get into it right off the rip. I guess I'm gonna give you mine, and then I'll pull it up so y'all got some visuals, something to see, right? But Jalen Hawkins, man, Jalen Hawkins from the Patriots, 29 years old. a guy that kind of came into his own for the Patriots, was a big reason, they were in the playoffs and won so many games. A guy that can cover, a guy that can play in the box. 29 years old, he's perfect age if we're going to bring in a bunch of young guys. We have Darian Porter. We have, my guy Dekamarion Richardson. We have a lot of young guys on this defense. Even the guys that have been here for a year or two are guys that we brought in free agency that, they need to resign. Some of these guys are, 25, 26 years old. They're still young pups when you're my age. So just one of those guys that, I think Jalen Hawkins could definitely help if the Patriots do not bring him back. And they let some key guys go in safety last year. One of them played for our team, right, for 2 years, was hurt most of the year. So Marcus, Epps. So with him being cut, it says Jalen Hawkins. I thought played very, very well. Again, can cover, good at tackling. It's just a solid guy for 29 years old. I think he's got a couple more years left, and for the right price, I think it would definitely be worth a look. Another guy from Seattle, right? Just won a Super Bowl is Josh Jobe, 27 years old. Was a guy that wasn't a starter, kind of worked his way into a starter, and he had a pretty damn good year, I think. So if Seattle doesn't bring him back, right, that's another guy that should be on the Raiders list, a guy at least to bring in to work him out, see how he fits. Another guy, Devin Bush, right? Devin Bush is a former first-round pick. Some people, were throwing that bust label on him. Didn't do well. I believe it was the Pittsburgh Steelers the first, 3-4 years. But he played pretty well going to the Browns last year. I think he had 3 interceptions. So, a guy that shows coverability, a guy that could tackle, was on a very, very nasty Browns defense, and a guy, definitely should bring in, take a look. Offensive wise, I still believe we need another running back. We don't know what they're doing with any of the guys in the building. We have no idea. Probably won't know till they get cut, right? But they're, I'm sure they're working these guys out. I'm sure they're watching tape and seeing, how they can use these guys. But a guy like Kenneth Gainwell, a guy that, was the second back, shared a lot of his time with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he's that hard hat, do it all guy. He can block well. He can catch out of the backfield. He's a change of pace back in the backfield. Only 27 years old. I don't think it would be, no crazy $12, $14 million a season, nothing crazy like that. So if you can bring him in at the right price, I think Kenneth Gainwell is a guy in a Clint Kubiak system that could really, really help this Las Vegas Raiders. Justin Chenard, I don't know how to say his name, but he was the linebacker for the Donkeys. Excuse me, the Denver Broncos. I got to stop doing that. Denver Broncos, 29 years old, 16 starts in the last 2 years, is a guy that, said he's a free agent. He doesn't want to sign with the Broncos because he wants to go out and be a starter. He's a guy that believes, 29 years old, he can be a starter in this league. And, linebackers, 29, 30, they start getting up there. Your role starts getting diminished. So he feels like, it's his time. And somebody that's hungry like that has a chip on his shoulder, played in a division, wouldn't be a bad idea to bring him in. Nashawn Wright, cornerback. Where was he? I do not have where he was. Anyways, cornerback, 27 years old, had 5 picks last year. Needs to be more consistent, right? Needs to be more consistent in coverage. But a guy that, I think in this defense, fresh young guys, pretty much all around the defensive side, I think it would be a good fit. I think it'd definitely be somebody to bring in, look at, in my opinion. Next is, not one of those sleeper guys, but it's definitely Quay Walker. I don't know if he's signed yet, if anybody's if he signed back yet. Green Bay Packers would be crazy to lose this man at 26 years old. Definitely, I believe fits this system in a 3-4. He's a guy that can play either outside. I think play anywhere. So Quay Walker, I think needs to be number one on the Raiders list, linebacker wise. I do believe, like I've been saying, I think it's only um, Cody Lindenberg and Tommy Eichenberg are the only Raider linebackers on the roster that aren't free agents. I do believe. I could be wrong. Um, and then safety wise, Cameron Curl. I thought Cameron Curl, played his ass off. He had some big interceptions and in big key games for the Rams all throughout the year. Even in the playoffs. A guy that he's a thumper, right? And I think we need that back in the Raiders safety room, both free safety and strong safety. I think we need a free safety that could cover sideline to sideline, but also could lay that wood, right? We need somebody that's a thumper that's gonna make people not want to come over the middle. And it's been a long time since we've had that in Raider Nation, and I think we need to get it back. And I think Cameron Curl would definitely be one of those guys. The Jaguars. I don't even know how to say his name. Monteric Brown, I do believe it is, 26 years old for the Jags. Not the fastest corner, but a guy that once he took over the starting role, showed that, he can lock down guys. Now, you might need a little help going deep or covering an X receiver, but maybe a guy you can, put in the slot. But just a smart player, physical. And, the Jags was one of the highest rated teams in turnovers last year, and it was a big part of having corners that can lock down guys and be in the right place at the right time. So just a name to check out. Kobe Bryant obviously is the name everybody's talking about, looking at. But then a guy that's a free agent that just went coming off a team that we just sent our top defensive player Maxx Crosby to in the Ravens is Draymond Jones, 29 years old, 7 sacks last season, and he played with 2 different teams, 2 different coaches, right? I think he was with Cincinnati until the trade deadline and then ended up going over to the Ravens. Still ended up with 7 sacks on the year. Like, the Raiders haven't had a defensive lineman to have 7 sacks. I don't know when. I guess if you're counting edge, Malcolm Kuntz, besides Crosby, right? It's been a minute. So a guy that I would take a look at, Draymond Jones. I don't have a size or any of that shit, but definitely somebody I think that could plug up the middle, get to the quarterback. I think he had 28 hurries and 28 pressures also. So a guy that can definitely help out this squad at 29. Yep, I think he better that Devin Lloyd. Quay Walker. Yeah, I think Quay Walker is the dude, man. And at 26, you're not going to get a linebacker in free agency at 26 that he did have, a damn good coach over there that ended up going and being a head coach. So good coaching over there. I don't know. I think they're in a situation where that money and the cap's starting to get to them. And sometimes you just got to let good players go because you can't afford them. And hopefully the Raiders can be a recipient of that. The Raiders also made a move. They went and got a corner from the Bills. Breaking news, not breaking news. A couple hours ago, the Raiders went and signed I don't know. Trayon Jones, I believe, a corner from the Buffalo Bills. The Bills were going to release him, but the Raiders they swapped a 6th round pick for a 7th round pick, and they also got Johnson. So obviously they didn't want him to hit the market, and they went and scooped him up before he hit the market. So shout out to the Raiders, shout out to SpyTech, being on top of things. I love the way this year is going. I was one of those dudes that was loving it last year, in free agency. Everybody was kind of pissed off and, excited that they didn't spend, a bunch of money or they didn't just go crazy. but it ended up like we needed a lot of that money, right? By the time the season was down, close to the end, I mean, we were down to pretty much nothing. So, and then next year, man, we're gonna get to one of these shows, but next year, golly, now that we got rid of Max, it helps a little bit. Now that we got rid of Gino, it helps a little bit. But next year's cap, we got to do something. Got to do something else there, anyways. And then 25 years old, N'Kobe Dean from the Philadelphia Eagles. I do believe their linebacker coach is now on the Las Vegas Raiders defense as the linebacker coach. I do believe he just jumped positions. So, I think that's a good sign for the Raiders. They have a little foot in the door. This man knows, the linebacker coach. He was a big part of Dean having the season he did until, he was hurt last year, I do believe. Um, and then a guy that, I haven't heard really anybody talking about is the Arizona Cardinals safety, Jalen Thompson. I haven't heard this name thrown around a lot, and I don't know why. I know the Cardinals were the same as us. They won 2 or 3 games, whatever it was, not a lot of games. But the man he can stop the run. He can play in the box. He has decent speed. He's, I think pretty damn good at coverage. Everybody can get better, but just one of those guys. And Jalen Thompson that shouldn't be too high priced. In fact, let's pull it up and see what some of these guys will cost. Because I'm just rattling off names. I've been, doing my homework, scrolling around and watching a little film here and there, checking out guys, that fit in the 3-4, guys that were in a 3-4 scheme before, so they can help the other guys, evolve and maybe learn the system, which we don't really know what it's going to be because it's a first time defensive coordinator. What do we got? Spotrac. What the hell, man? All right, let me see if I can find any of these guys on Spotrac and see what they are worth. But yeah, man, let me know what y'all think, who y'all got. Let me know who are some of y'all sleepers. Who are you looking at? Except, don't just come up here and throw me names that everybody's talking about, right? That's not real. We're not trying to do that here. Give me something that nobody knows. Something that not everybody wants, right? If you say Linderbaum, you're blocked. No, I'm just kidding. Because that is, there's 25 teams in the mix for that, bro. It doesn't seem like a. Where are we at? NFL team management. All right. I don't know why this is taking so long. It's not working. All right. Manage team. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, wait, I didn't want to do all that. No. No. All right. Well, um, overview. Somehow I got set up to play general manager, and I'm not trying to play general manager right now. That has time for another show. I just want free agents. Every time I think the live is going good, something happens. Something happens. My audio is bad. Y'all just now telling me this? No, I'm just playing. Holy shit. What's going on? No sound. Still no sound. Fuck you, dude.